Now, next in today's episode of Washington in Focus, we have state agencies that are notoriously slow in responding to public records requests. And of course, that's something we in the media do quite often to kind of find out how negotiations went behind the scene, who was influencing who, what quid pro quo there might have been in some cases. We have some agencies that are actually improving over the last several years. And the Washington Coalition for Open Government has come out this week with a new list. They call it their winners and sinners list. So you can imagine if you're a winning agency, you're responding relatively quickly to those public records requests. If you're on the sinners list, maybe you're slow walking release of those documents. So here's part of my conversation this week with George Erb, who's the secretary for the Washington Coalition for Open Government.
There's a state legislative committee that's been compiling this data complete year since 2018. So we've got 7 years of data, and one of the metric points is the average number of days it takes an agency to complete public records requests. So we thought at Watchdog, wouldn't it be a great idea to come up and find out what the average is for 5 years and find out which agencies are doing a good job of turning around records requests and which ones are not. And so we took this legislative committee's data, compiled it, sorted it, ran the averages ourselves, and came up with this list, which we called winners and sinners, to recognize the agencies that are doing a good job and the agencies that are doing not so good a job. So that was the motive behind it, and that's a little bit on the methodology. On the other side of the scale, the slowest agency for the 5 years that we looked at was the Sumner School District, and they were completing their records requests in an average of 213 days. That's about 7 months it took for them to turn it around. Now, one of the things that we like to look at is was there anything going on with this agency at the time that it took so long to complete the records requests? And so we looked at the Sumner School District, and during the beginning of the year of the 5 year period we were looking at, they had a terrible scandal at the high school, where the high school basketball coach was accused and I think actually put on administrative leave for allegedly committing sexual abuse with his own players. And that happened at the beginning of this 5 year period that we were looking at. So I can't look you in the eye, Carlene, and say that that caused the lengthy records turnaround, but I can tell you that they occurred at the same time.
Now, the shortest average turnaround time for the second year in a row where Washcog has released this list is the North City Water District. They're in Shoreline. And get this, they're completing records requests in zero point 0.2 days. So you might put your records request in at 8 a.m. and have it back by 10 a.m. Now, it's important to note they only get a handful of public records requests. They're a water district in a year. But still they're responding right away. Norcom 911, which is the 911 center up in Snohomish County, Northeast King County and into Snohomish County, they're actually also responding back very quickly, zero point 0.9 days. So usually getting a turnaround the very same day you put your records request in, and they get a ton of them. In fact, according to Washcog, they handled um, over 5 years, they completed their records requests, as I mentioned, in zero point 0.9 days. But they do get a whole bunch of those. People are looking for 911 documents. They want to know what time a call was made, how fast did law enforcement or fire respond. So they get a lot of requests. They've obviously got a department dedicated to handling those requests, and they're doing a good job. Worse, as you heard George say in that clip, it was the Sumner School District, and he said it corresponded to the same time where they were, in the middle of a major controversy involving that boys basketball coach who ultimately was convicted last year in 2025 and sent to prison. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's a correlation between the response times for 2025, which we don't have completely yet, for the Sumner School District. But to take 7 months to respond to requests for documents seems like an inordinately lengthy amount of time. Another slowpoke was the Evergreen State College, the public university outside of Olympia. They completed records requests in an average of 142.9 days. Here again is George Erb with Watchdog.
It's pretty disappointing, right? It's pretty disappointing. And in terms of the reasons why, it's hard to tell. I mean, it could be reluctance to release the information. It could also be, and this is not unusual, that the Public Records Office is just understaffed. They just don't have very many people working on it. And so when they get a large volume of records requests, suddenly they're underwater and it takes them a
Mm.
while to work their way out. Or they could have poor processes. Maybe their records are poorly organized, and it takes the people who are there a long time to find them. I don't know. We would have to look deeper into that to find out just exactly what was going on.
I should note when it comes to lawmakers, this really is not a partisan issue. When it comes to transparency, accountability, access to records, a lot of state lawmakers, both Republicans and Democrats, cite legislative privilege in saying, we don't have to tell you who influenced us on a particular piece of legislation. We don't have to release email exchanges we might have had with lobbying groups or others interested in pushing legislation one way or the other. Now, Watchdog has for years asked lawmakers, all lawmakers in Washington state, to sign a pledge that they won't invoke legislative privilege. But at last check, there were only about 9 Washington lawmakers, some Democrats, some Republicans, that had signed onto that pledge that they would not invoke legislative privilege.